here we are. Training module 4 is also titled after a famous saying of Bert Hellinger. He was named the new family constellation that we are, Eva and Kimberly, are trained in. Through me, going with the spirit. That's the synonym words he uses for the new family constellation. It's in German, again, mit dem Geiste. It's more the spirit mind. When we are talking about spirit here, we are not talking about spirits, right? That's something very different. When we are talking about spirit, we are talking basically consciousness. We're talking about our own and the collective wider consciousness, and not individual beings that are, bodiless, if you will. Although we deal with them, but not when we say going with the spirit. That's what he meant, that we are taken by a higher force when we are in a facilitating family constellation. That it is not, we are not going by our intuition, we are not going by our emotions, we are not going by our mind. We are taken into service by the spirit, if you will, or other people call it God, or you can give it whatever name you like to. So what exactly does this mean? Let me just get this up here. So where is this coming from? So in this module, which is consisting of three parts, one today with the second part tomorrow, and then the next day, part 3. In today's part, we are talking about spiritual and emotional healing. We are talking and foreign energies. In part 2, we are talking about trauma and birth energies, and in great detail, finally, about the interrupted movement towards the mother. And in part 3, we are talking about regressions and past lives. So in part 2, we are also talking about the beginning of life, if you will, birth. And in part 3, with the end, if you will, of the physical life, death. Yeah? So today, however, we are not talking about neither. We are talking about emotional healing and foreign energies, and dive deep into what actually emotions are, right? So today, we are actually asking us a very important question. Why do we want to heal? Then we talk about emotional healing, the frequencies of emotions. We talk about the spirit and birth and death, the planes of existence. We will learn the spiritual colors, and we will learn how to perform spiritual healing. And then finally, we also learn how to detach spirits and possessive energies. So now ask the question, why healing? Do you think that's a valid question, or do you wonder why I asked this? Any ideas? Just throw it at me. Who thinks that's a weird question? Good. So you ask yourself the same question once, maybe?
I think we're all on mute. Sure. I mean, yeah. Doesn't everybody have some hurt they want to heal from? I mean,
exactly.
I think it's a normal thing.
Exactly. Now the question is why? Because now we have learned in the first 3 modules that the first step is always acknowledging what is, right? So we always acknowledge what is, and with acknowledging what is, we already get the souls moving in a family constellation. We already get the step towards healing, to whatever needs to be healing in terms of whatever is missing. Whoever is missing is seen and taking the right place, right? That's what we do. So when we always start with acknowledging what is, why are we not acknowledging the issues we are worried about or suffering under? Why do we want to change them? Why do we want to get rid of them? Is this acknowledging what is, Kimberly?
To not suffer. We want to end suffering, right? We want to feel good.
Yeah. We want to feel good. Yeah. You might find over the course of the work that you are conducting, you will come to some void, to a place of voidness where you ask yourself this question on a deeper level. And you might even find yourself not wanting to do this work anymore. That is great. That is a very important phase in your development as a systemic coach. And I've been through that, and everybody does. Because you have to ask this question at one stage, right? When you work like it, and you will understand why it is so important to ask this question. And remember, the asking of the question is the important part, not the answer. If you would be ready for the answer, you wouldn't ask the question. Understood? If you would be ready for the answer, you would have an aha moment, a moment of knowing. But no, you ask a question because you are not ready for the answer. And that is the important part of any question. And this is a deep question. That is the same question as why am I here? What am I doing here? What is life about? Right? What is the purpose of life? This is the same level of question. Why do we need to heal? And I want you to be aware of it. And this is not where we need to go today. Later in your development as a systemic coach, facilitator, or even in your own personal development, you will come to the stage, yeah, which can come together with the dark night of the souls or not, maybe not. Yeah, it's a very valued phase in your life. So stick with the question and don't rush to answers. So, of course, you want to end suffering, right? That is the purpose on earth, if you will. Yeah. The question is, do we end suffering with healing or with acknowledging what needs to be healed, right? So this, I'll leave you with this. This is just a question. I don't want to answer it. Now we talk about spiritual healing and emotional healing. They are two different things. So, we talk about that. Do I not have a chart? No, obviously not. So spiritual healing is when you cannot heal when you are face to face with somebody, when you're at the same in the same energy, in the same frequency. You need to be a little bit higher so you can bring the other up to your level, right? Okay. So that means when you do spiritual healing, and we go through all of this, we have to stay in a specific state of beingness. And that is the state of unconditional love. Only in the state of unconditional love we can help others with spiritual healing. Something I learned excessively with Malcolm Southwood, with the spiritual healer from England that I have trained with. And we will do that today. Emotional healing, however, you also have to be out of the same emotion. This is your client. Yeah, this emotion, you have to be in a higher emotion as well, in a higher frequency. And this is why we go through the frequencies of emotion in order to raise him or her up to your level. Yeah. When this is, you cannot go down here and do anything. Yeah. You need to stay here and raise the other up. That is the art of helping, the art of healing. Not being dragged down into dramas, not being dragged down into stories. And you know how important that is when you work with family constellation and the stories your client tell and how little they have to do with what the family system wants to hear. Often, right? And that is the same with spiritual and emotional healing. You have to maintain your higher state of frequency in either or in order to be able to help. So this is just having said, and then we go through the details later on. Then also we talk about energy. So we say frequency, we say energy. What is this? Why do we need to look at it? So I just have to check more charts coming up. Oh yeah, they are. That's funny. I forgot about that. So this is these are actually the charts I'm talking to you about. So we talk about emotions and with the frequency of emotions. That's a specific term that we will use. We will also talk about what is the spirit, and that is all answering the questions, why do we want to heal ourselves and others? We will talk about the spiritual worlds, the spiritual colors, very important part of the spiritual healing and emotional healing, if you will. And then the whole process of birth and death, to understand that from a certain perspective, to be able to help yourself and clients to put everything into a greater context that you see when you work with them in systemic coaching. Okay, now we come to my charts. So we talked about why healing. I throw it out there. Just think about accepting what is, because everyone and everything is perfect as it is in this moment, isn't it? How could it be any different? It's exactly where you're supposed to be. Your soul has sent you, or you have created your life circumstances, of course, subconsciously, we all do that, for a certain purpose. And now we need to accept that before we move on. But we also want to end suffering, meaning we want to let go of trauma and pain. Yeah, because this is actually holding us in the lower frequency. Yeah, if we let go of trauma and pain, we can raise our frequency higher and higher and higher. Yeah. We also want to change the perspective. I come back to this picture. From here, everything looks different than from here, right? From here, everything looks different than from here. Yeah. That is all part of the healing process. And of course, there is so much more to discover if we get out of conditioning, right? A whole new world is lying, or multiple worlds are lying behind our little world that we know of when we are staying in the state of conditioning. So true healing is only enabled on a spiritual level, right? The highest level is the spiritual consciousness level. And from here is where true healing is taking place. The other healings are steps towards it, steps, yeah? But the true healing is where the spirit goes. And that is why Bert Hellinger liked to call the new family constellation going with the spirit. That's our guide. Creativity is life's purpose. Think about that. That's just like a sentence I throw at you to ponder on. That you might find out now or later in life that the true purpose is not actually to have a certain, to achieve something that you cannot take with you anyhow, right? When you shed this body. So accumulating of physical goods are certainly not a purpose of a lifetime. Healing is the purpose in means of letting go of trauma and pain, raising higher frequencies to higher frequencies, yeah? To do what? To create. And to know that you are creating and not involuntarily creating. That you create your life circumstances and that you know that you have created them and not somebody else for you. That is conditioning, right? Okay, let's talk about emotional healing. When we talk about emotional healing, of course, we are not healing the body as our purpose. We are healing the soul. That's it. So the body will be healed. We will get out of pain and suffering and trauma in the body, but not because we are taking a pill or having some physical manipulation on the body, but we are healing the soul. The sole purpose why the body is reacting like this. And of course, that goes contrary to many professions that are earning money with only potting around on the body, right? If you will. And of course, it's a huge industry. I mean, look at the pharma industry and everything. Like, just look at them, right? But we all know, and everybody knows in their heart, that the soul is healing, needs healing, not the body. The body is just a reflection of the soul. The soul comes first. And that's what we do when we do family constellation. And this is why we call it moving with this, like soul movement, what we see in the family constellation. So we are working only with the souls, not with the body, and have astounding results on the body, on the physical, for yourself and for your client, right? Remember, just when we work on illnesses and diseases, skin diseases, what else was lately? Anything come to your mind from our workshop? What was lately a physical ailment we worked on? Kimberly, remember?
A thyroid issue?
Yeah, the thyroid issue, exactly, completely healed, just by allowing the souls to move towards unity and healing, and being acknowledged in their position where they belong in the family system. Therefore, we need to know more about the soul in our work, yeah, than we need to know about the body, right? We will trust that the body will just follow, it will just change in the way it is appropriate, yeah? So now we want to put most of our effort, that not only in our work that goes for our personal development, in that which will last, right? And not that will decay, right? In 80 years or 90 years or however old we get. So we want to put our effort in developing that what lasts beyond death. And that would be the soul. And I will talk you through the system. And there is no need to, if you have a belief system that is kind of not like this, following, that's totally fine. You can keep it. There's absolutely no reason to change the belief system at this stage for this module 4. I just invite you to follow along and do not dismiss any information, because they work. They work in the process of personal development and working with clients in systemic coaching. Yeah. And that's the only thing you really need to know. So it is a concept like any other thing that you ever heard in the world is a concept. Knowingness is always coming from your own experience, right? So I will teach you what I have found, not only me, but many people, to be very, very valuable in our work and our personal development. And you can use it for yourself and work with clients. And you don't need to believe in it, and you don't need to dismiss it. Yeah, that's all. So, and I use this word soul in a specific way, right? You will see that, because there's also many different ways where what people understand when they say soul. So we put the effort into that was last, and who is putting in the effort? Who's actually doing the work? It's actually the spirit. That's your guide. That's the one who wants the soul to evolve. Yeah. So we need also to look at our spirit and see how the spirit comes into play here, and how we actually access it, and how we actually work with it, and how we can get out of the way and let them do the work. Then a brief excursion into what is energy that we also work with. First of all, like the spirit, energy is also unseen forces, if you will. You would just think of electric power and how it was discovered. It was always there. Electric power was always there, but it hasn't been discovered. It hasn't been made visible. Not that you can see electric, but you can see the result. When electric is powering a light bulb or your stove or your car, right? That's the result. You never see the electric. And we sometimes forget about it, that we are not seeing. We don't see thoughts, we don't see emotions, we don't see electric, we don't see air, we don't see breath. We see the outcome of it, the result of it, right? Most of what we are used to deal with on a daily basis is unseen forces. Yeah. then that is exactly the same when we work with spirit and when we work with soul movement. It is natural, it's always there, it's surrounding us 24/7. We know it very well, but we only know to look at it in a certain way because we look at a certain outcome and not at the new way to look at it that I guide you to see. Yeah, that's it. Think about thoughts, that thoughts are unseen forces in a thought form or a thought energy, yeah? They are also not yours. They are surrounding you like electricity. They are just there. They are there like the air you breathe. Every unseen force is just there. We are not creating them. What we do is we are receiving them like with our antennas. And why do we receive a certain emotion or a certain thought and not the other is because that's what we are looking for through our conditioning, through the belief that this is who we are. We form what we call an ego or an ego personality, and then we are looking for thoughts and emotions and situations in our environment that we are attracting. Like a radio is tuned into this frequency, and then we get the signal, right? That's how our body works with all unseen forces, right? And that is how we are then, if we are staying in this one frequency, cannot create a new reality, and we cannot create healing neither, because that would be a new reality, right? So we have to make sure that we are receiving more, broader frequency. And then we also get new thoughts. And that's where creativity really comes into play. We're just receiving new thoughts. Energies are vibrating in different frequencies. And we will see that because when we look at the chart of emotions, we would see that they actually have each and everything, also thoughts, but we will look more in detail into emotions, have their specific frequency. So, and then when we have these unseen forces, they do have like a home, right? And that is, for example, the body has a home, and that is on Earth. The body's home is on Earth. You can't take your body anywhere else. Not that I know of. The body stays here. The body decays, becomes dust, dirt, and from there grows something. Yeah. The body is formed from the cells of the mother, in the womb of the mother, right? Not coming out of thin air. It is bound to Earth. What are emotions? So, again, unseen forces. You can't see an emotion. You can see somebody is angry, but you can't see the anger. You can only see the expression of the face. You can see the, in a family constellation, you see the fist, something like that, but you cannot see the emotion, anger, only how it is expressed. The emotion is something that is created by the mind, so a thought comes before the emotion. And you might do an experiment with yourself, how you can think of something that made you sad lately and see how you can be down within seconds. Or you think of something that made you really happy lately and you can be happy in seconds or in an instant even, right? So it's always the mind. Why we are not aware of it is because most of our emotion we create subconsciously. That's the only reason. We find it hard to create our emotions deliberately. And that reminds me of something that the Dalai Lama said. He has a routine. He makes sure that he is laughing every day half an hour. He doesn't need a mirror for that, but sometimes he laughs into the mirror, but he makes a point, regardless what is around him, regardless what's going on, he laughs half an hour. This is mastering your emotion. And we all can do that, of course, if we wanted to. Master our emotions. That means they come out of the subconscious into the conscious mind. Yeah. And it's great to make an exercise for yourself. Just to think of something sad, see how you think of something that made you angry, see how the anger, comes up. And then in an instant, you decide to think of something makes you happy and just be aware how the anger just goes away in one split second and this happy face appeared on your face, right? That's a really good exercise to understand how you are creating your own circumstance that you find yourself in. So the source of illness and disease is also connected then to the emotions. So let's go through. We have a thought or a subconscious mind coming first, then the emotion is coming, and then the body is reacting to it. And then we can actually help people with healing, because when we know the underlying emotion of a disease, you can go there and help release this emotion. And then help them to heal their physical as well. When you have when somebody is so strongly identified with an emotion, yeah, then that is something is happening that Eckhart Tolle calls the pain body. Do you know Eckhart Tolle? Yeah, that he calls the pain body. It becomes like an extra entity, almost. It's just like not yourself. It's like somebody takes over, right? Completely out of control. Or in another way, Ramta, I don't know whether you know Ramta, another school of enlightenment, it's from the 80s, 90s more. He was putting it another way. He said, you become your emotion. It is not an emotion you have and you can drop. You are this emotion. That is like people are enraged all the time. You often see, or not often, but if you see that, then you see them. They are always like this, right? There's always this rage. Kimberly.
But how does this work with people that are like bipolar or have, other chemical stuff going on or hormonal stuff? And I know in one of his books, Eckhart Tolle talked about hormones and the women's cycle and that sort of thing. But when you're dealing with, somebody that can't control it, like it's beyond their control, how does this fit?
So bipolar is already hinting us at the problem. It's the mind. It's the first thing, right? The mind is creating this emotion. The mind is split, if you will. It's a split mind. There is this mind. So the one frequency is receiving that, and the other frequency is receiving that, and that's all together in one mind, right? And that's disturbing for the person who is involved. So how can you heal that? If this frequency is coming down, you can work with that, but then they just swap over to this difficult. This is why we discussed that in former modules. It's difficult to help mentally impaired people. It's difficult. Yeah. And sometimes I also think that's just the destiny. Well, that's also a creation. Maybe this lifetime is not ready to learn. Or maybe that is a lesson, to not create something that makes you how can I put it, that prevents you from being able to raise your frequency and come into the state of creativity. Yeah. And then you are pondering, we come to that, you're pondering in the astral world and say, okay, next time I do not want to be mentally impaired. because, you know, there's not much you can do. I found. Sometimes it looks like it. You think you go ahead, and that is what I call the therapy junkies. There are most these persons who booking a lot of sessions, come all the time, and they will turn on you. That's normal, because nothing is really happening. It's just pretend. Yeah, and you will see, and that's okay. You know, that's okay. That's also learning curve. Just okay. But I just say, as always, difficult to work with mentally impaired clients. It is not what we focus on, Kimberly. Remember that. Family constellation is not a method to heal mentally impaired. It's just not. Yeah, Kimberly.
I know with this schizophrenia, it's like a double entanglement. Is there something that bipolar, because I just know a lot of people that have bipolar people in their lives. Is there something that correlates in the constellations?
I have never seen one, I think. Would be interesting. I'm still also not quite sure what this diagnosis bipolar is. You know, or if it's not used in too many ways as well. To you know, I'm not quite sure about that. I have never actually had a family constellation on bipolarity. Not that I can remember.
Not that the person constellating would be coming to their bipolar, but maybe they have somebody in their life that was bipolar, that they had to, you know, maybe trauma created with that person. I was just wondering if there was a correlation, but it sounds like you haven't experienced that.
No. As I said, I tend not to work with mentally impaired people. And when it comes in a constellation, in a representative, you know the signs of that, normally psychosis. I don't think that bipolarity in an ancestor comes over like an issue. Otherwise, we would have seen it more frequently, for sure. Yes, Judy.
Kimberly and I just did a constellation where there was father issues, and my father was bipolar. So I think the mental illness itself is not an issue. What it does to the person, the hurt that it causes, that's
a good way to look at it, Judy. Yeah. That's a very good look. So what we see in a constellation is the hurt, the soul that is hurt. Exactly. We don't work with these bipolarity. That's very good. Thank you, Judy. That clarifies it. Very good. So a curse is also something you need to consider. We have that in family constellation. A curse is an emotion that has become so strong that it's detached from its creator. And it has its own life. It has its own purpose, right? And we would treat a curse like, sometimes like a family secret in family constellation. Sometimes we'd release it like an attached spirit or an attached emotion. So we would see in the context of when it comes up. Just be aware, we do work also with curses. Now we look at the different vibrations of the emotions, and we want to be aware that emotions are transferable. They can be transferred from one lifetime to the next one of one soul journey, or from one person to the other as well. This is when the emotion becomes so strong that it becomes an own entity, if you will. The home of the emotion is the astral world, or in some circumstances, in between world. So remember, the home of the body is Earth. The home of the emotions, which are combined as what we call a soul, is the astral world. And when we talk about that later, and when the soul got stuck by the day, in the moment they leave the body, when the body is left behind, they might get stuck in the in-between work. That's another issue where we can work with. Okay, now we look at the map of consciousness of Dr. David Hawkins. Who knows him and his books? They're fantastic. Definitely have a look. He was a very high achieved psychiatrist or psychotherapist, or how you will, very academic, very high achieved, and then he had his discoveries and he put it all together in a spiritual context. It's amazing to follow his teachings. So he found out with muscle testing, kineology, another tongue breaker, you know, muscle testing. How do you pronounce it? Kinesiology.
Kinesiology?
Kinesiology. Okay.
Kinesiology.
Kinesiology.
It doesn't matter now what it is.
Well, I will learn it. I will ask Google. Okay, so here we are. The frequency of emotions. Now, so what I wanted to convey is, if you haven't read his books or listened to his talks, this is very scientific. He has put many, many decades of work into it. It is all based in experiments with people with this muscle testing method. And he has put together this chart because of this is a result of his lifelong work. And he found out that every emotion has a specific frequency. Now, as you can see on this chart, it is a little bit like the chakra colors or the rainbow colors, right? Coming from red to purple. Red being the densest of emotions and the lowest frequency, and that is shame and guilt. And then it goes over apathy and grief into something that we know more closely, the yellow area. Fear, desire, and anger is what we all deal with, at least, if not with the red ones. Then we deal with that. And then we come into the green, which is anger, pride, and then courage. And here everything changes at the frequency of 200. Dr. Hawkins says, or the result of his studies is that more than 80% of the population is permanently in the state of 175 and below. Permanently. They never, in their whole lifetime, find courage. Courage what? Courage to change. Courage to do something about it, whatever it is. Right? Now, from the remaining 20% that have reached the state of courage, the vast majority is staying in the state of neutrality. The vast majority of the 20%. Few are going higher than 250. This is also why the Earth is called the plane of suffering. Now you know why. This is the predominant vibration of the mind, the human mind, right? Now the good news is that nobody's here on the course who is not in a higher state than that. Because nobody of these people would ever be training in family constellation facilitating and systemic coaching. They barely come to the events. Yeah? They just stay where they are because they need courage to come and look at the suffering and look at the trauma and go through the pain and expose themselves to something new where the end is uncertain and the outcome. So now we have some reach with the state of taking the courage to change something, and then there is a stage of neutrality, which is important. It's like this space to take a rest, because it's a big step. you know, out of what the body is used to. And this can take several lifetimes, by the way. I'm not talking that people going through all of this in a lifetime at all, right? So once you need another impulse to come out of this state of neutrality into now what we call higher states of beingness with a higher frequency. That's everything that is blue, you know, blue going into purple. And it's also related to the chakras. The green is a heart chakra. The heart is a turning point from the animal nature to the spiritual nature. Is this a concept you're aware of? Yeah, more or less. So there's a heart. The heart is the fourth chakra is a turning point. Everything goes through the heart. Yeah. Many people never reach the heart. Many, 80%. Like you can see there, never go into green. But once somebody feels something in their heart, where the truth, some of their true purpose resides, yeah, they overcome anger, desire, and pride, right? And then they take the courage to look at what they have done and decide they don't want that anymore. Most often that happens in the astral world, not on Earth. So the people who are here and the people who are coming to events, they already come with a higher frequency. They don't create this through their life. They might don't know it because they're conditioned in other life circumstances, but they know the way out. They take the way out because they know of the way. They know the path. So now we have willingness. We have the willingness to what? To let go of everything you know and go into the unknown to achieve higher states of consciousness. And then we come to our favorite state of being, acceptance, acknowledging what is. Right? With acceptance or acknowledging what is, everything already falls into place, as you know and see very drastically in family constellations. And you can also apply that to your own life. Letting go of fighting and just accepting that's what it is. That doesn't mean that we are idle and we don't have a drive to do anything with our lives anymore. The opposite is the case. That's the best starting block. I'm thinking of the sprinters, you know, when you see athletes sprinting, they have the starting blocks where they put their feet against, and then they are ready to go, you know, they wait for the shooting or whatever it is, the bang, and then they are ready to go. They're in the best position to go fast, yeah? And that is the state of acceptance. That is the state of acknowledgement, acknowledging what is, to be ready for whatever comes now, yeah? After acceptance or accepting what is, we are still at 350 from 1,000. So we are still in the first not quarter, in the first three, whatever, try thingy part of all the frequencies that are available to us, right? And it is already very, very high. Right? There is under 1% of the population is there, of course. Much, much, much less than that. Then we come to a state of reason. Now we find reasoning in everything. And then through acceptance comes this moments of, yes, this is why, this is how it works. That is where true acknowledgement and wisdom starts, right? It all starts with this acceptance. And now, next step, next station is love. Love meaning unconditional love, not attachment. Attachment is somewhere from, can be anything from 20 to 200, right? That's what is the love that is attaching. You need somebody. I need you. I need you to fulfill a purpose in the life. I need you to fill a hole in my life. I need you. That's not the love. That's a love that, you know, all the songs are about, and the romantic and all of this. This is not, when we say love, we are talking about unconditional love. Yeah, that is the same love you have for your neighbor as to have for your partner, right? There is no distinguishing. Same love you have for your clients. One is a difficult client and a lovely client, doesn't matter. Yeah. Why is that? Because you're already over any emotions in yourself that makes you needy. Yeah. There's no neediness, no lackatosis, remember? No lack, no lack. You are complete in itself, and that's when unconditional love arises. And when I say that, this is not a state you are in all the time. This is a state you are in when you want to heal, right? So you want to heal from this state of unconditional love. So we all are here somehow in this state because we love the situation when we are in a family constellation and everything comes together. Yeah. And especially when you're facilitating or when you're representing and you are guided, that is because everything else falls away. You are in this state of unconditional love. And even if it's just for 10 minutes, it's so desirable. It's because that's where we want to be. We don't need to maintain that. We can have arguments with people, right? We are just human. Huh? But that doesn't mean that we cannot access the state when we want to or when we have to. Yeah. Now, the next stage over this unconditional love is joy. And that is joyous happiness without any reason. And I would like you to think about that for a moment. Have you a reconciliation, a remembrance of a moment like this, where you were happy without a reason, not because something good happened in your life. You were just walking somewhere or sitting at home, and all of a sudden you had this happiness. Does this ever happen to you? Yes? Great. Remember that. That is 540 on the scale. That's more than, you know, halfway up. Very high up there. Very high up. And that is also happening just because you did the work before. That's the result. As more you're staying in the state of unconditional love, as more this happiness without reason moments will just come. Hmm? The hallmark here is compassion. Hmm? And this is the seat of spiritual healers and saints. Hmm? So we, the normal healers, I don't want to call it healers, the facilitators, to help us, yeah, we are in the state of unconditional love. But the extraordinary work that has been done once in a while, that is not coming from the state of unconditional love. That is the prerequisite. That's coming from the state of bliss or joy. Hmm? So the perception in this state is perfection in creation, right? And I give you two examples, one for unconditional love. So one example for unconditional love is what I have from Malcolm Southwood, my spiritual healer teacher. He has shared with us, with the group, when we were talking about how to heal from love, that he had a talk to an audience, and he was talking about healing and how to be in the state of unconditional love in order to heal. And he was talking and talking like he, you know, like he does, totally imbues into what he was talking about. And then he looked, and then all of a sudden everybody was looking like they're in their chairs. And he had no idea what happened. Looking at him like this, and guess what happened? Any guess? No? He vanished. He vanished from the stage while he was talking. And then he came back. And he had no idea. That's why, because when you're in the state of unconditional love, you can completely dissolve your bodily fluids even, right? And that just happened in the state of unconditional love. While he was talking about it, he was so into it, yeah, that he raised just his frequency so much that he became bodiless for a split second. So everybody was freaking out. And he never knew. So when he was told that, then he understood why that was, and then he based his teaching basically on this knowledge he gained from the situation. Yeah. Okay. Now, joy, this healing out of unconditional love coming into joy. There's another example that comes to my mind, and I saw it on YouTube. I'm not sure if it's still available, and I don't know how to find it. It was coincidental. It was 3 healers from India, from a monastery. I don't know exactly where they came from. They were standing. That was an experiment conducted with a patient who had cancer. I think it was stomach cancer or something like that. So they had invited them to this experiment, and it was somewhere in India. And there was this patient lying on the table with an ultrasound about the tumor in some inner organs. I think it was the stomach, yeah. It was like fist big and was in the stomach. And it was quite severe and fatal. It was a malicious one. And then there were doctors around, so supervising this experiment. And then the 3 monks came in, or healers. They looked actually very normal, by the way. They didn't wear any specific clothes or anything. And they were just standing around, and they were saying a mantra. And they were saying a mantra, and this mantra brought them so into unconditional love that while they are reciting this mantra on the ultrasound, you saw how the tumor shrank, right? And it was really impressive. It shrank to nothingness. The tumor went away, right? And that's another example that comes to my mind about where true healing is coming from this state, yeah? This state of happiness without a reason, this state of joy. There's no darker, no lower energy can persist in that. This is just not possible, right? It's like a natural law. You cannot stay. And then of course think of what is this guy's name? The Japanese with the water, Emoto. I think Yamama Emoto or something like that, where he has discovered how the crystals change when they are imbued with love, right? Same thing. Look at this. It just works everywhere. And of course the body is all water, right? So everything will just turn around and heal itself. And then we leave the hallmark of and compassion is compassion to all. It's a very important, I think for humans, the most accessible way to love and joy is compassion. And that I have from my own lifetime experience. So if you're focusing on be compassionate, yeah, it brings you easiest into the higher frequencies. Yeah. Be compassionate to start with animals. It's much easier than to be compassionate to animals and to all humans, right? And that's also the principle of yoga and the enlightenment, ahimsa, yeah, non-harming. Be compassionate. That's all about it. That's the whole teaching of yoga, is to be compassionate to yourself and others, right? So not to harm yourself and others in any way, shape, or form. And that brings you into the state of happiness without a reason. Lifts you up over even unconditional love. And then we have peace at 600. That's this kind of peace that you might have also noticed in your life at some moments, all of a sudden this peace where there is nobody talking, no mind is busy, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to change, it's absolute peace. Yeah, it's maybe just a split second, but it's there. You know how it feels, right? And that is also a great goal to set. To say, okay, I want to stay in this. I want to stay more often, more moments in this state. And that's 600, vibrating 600. And then you have enlightenment from 700 to 1000. Yeah, well, these are stages we probably can't talk about. I don't think that is something that you can convey. I don't know. I'm sure we might or might not have it as in our lifetime, being able to have a split second of it. I hope so. But then after this, the soul, which is the body of emotions, is clean, is clear, right? This is when the soul is free. That is Jivamukti in yoga and in Sanskrit, the soul is freed. What does it mean? The soul doesn't need to come back to earth. There's no need, because there's no emotion left to clear, right? All clear and done and gone. And that is also when the soul decides to come back. Nevertheless, then it's only for teaching. These are the gurus that come back, the Buddha, the Jesus, whoever, they don't come back to work on their emotions. They come back as a living example that this is a state that you can and should and will achieve. Yeah, one day, one lifetime. And here's a little picture of the chakras that is very similar to the colors that David Hawkins used, for some good reasons, because this is all related, of course, right? All related. Okay. So, who or what is the spirit? Again, unseen forces, of course, we can't see. Spirit comes from Latin, and it spirare, and it is actually literally to breathe. And it's kind of breathing breathing life into matter, if you will. That's the spirit. The spirit makes matter animate, if you will. In the mid-13th century, it was therefore also called the animating or vital principle in man and animal. To breathe life into matter is also sometimes called as the breath of life. And some just comes to mind some artworks. The spirit is depicted as something that comes out like breath, that comes out of the mouth even, or in, or something, This is opposed to soul, what we talked about before. Soul is from Latin anima. And the psychotherapist C.G. Jung has said the anima, which we call the soul, is the thoughts, emotions, and personality combined. Then we have the higher self, or consciousness, or God, if you will. It's all the same thing. The essential principle, it is called. It is called the source of all things, or called life force. And that is the spirit. What's the home of the spirit? The world of light. So I recap, the home of the body is earth. The home of the soul is the Astra world, or the in-between world. And the home of the spirit is the world of light. All right. Now we talk about birth and death. Briefly, because we go into birth and death in tomorrow and the day after in greater detail. So as a concept, as I said before earlier today, this is the concept that I want to convey to you, to work with it, because it really works well. And for the sake of this context, also we are simplifying, obviously. So we say for now that we are composed of three parts. The body, thoughts and emotions is one part, and the spirit is the third part. The purpose of birth is giving an opportunity to become more loving and compassionate and master egoistic tendencies and thoughts. Yeah, that's the thesis I would like you to think about. Giving the opportunity to become more loving and compassionate and master egoistic tendencies and thoughts. Remember where thoughts are residing in the soul. Yeah? This identification with thoughts. The thoughts are not made by the souls, they are grabbed by the thoughts and hold, like emotions. They are not made, they are grabbed and hold together because it's like, you know, like packed together. Because the thoughts and emotions are interceptible. Change can only happen in a physical body through experiencing a new emotion in the body to make it visible. Remember, you can not see the emotion, you cannot see the thought, but you can see the outcome of it. And for that, you need senses. And who's creating the senses? The body. Eyes to see, ears to hear, skin to feel, right? So without the body, we cannot experience our thoughts and emotions, and we cannot change them neither. So once this has been experienced, a new experience, higher frequency, has been developed for the soul. And that is something it can actually take with it when they leave the physical body. So that's worth putting the effort in. Much more worth than making sure the skin is tight when you're 70, or what else comes to mind, or like this, or whatever people potting around on their body. This is not worth the effort, right? It doesn't last long. Yeah. But to really put the effort in experiencing new emotions and going into higher frequencies and taking that with you, that's worth it. Death is to shed the body. That's actually the ability to shed the body and return to the spiritual and emotional home where you came from. Let alone, it will be a little bit different and more complicated than that, but not for today. We will look at this tomorrow and the day after. So let's talk about the spiritual world. Yeah. The earth is a world of experiences. No? Here's where we have the senses and the body and the physical appearance to experience our thoughts and emotions. And that's what is the purpose of it. The astral world is a world of emotions. That's where the emotions reside and go back to in form of a soul to ponder on what they have experienced on earth. So the astral world is very close to the to earth, to the physical realm, and therefore many people who are psychic, they can actually see astral world, or they can travel into astral world. It's very close to us. Then we have the in-between world. That is the world of attachment and addiction. That is where the soul is trapped, not able to go in the astral world to ponder. And that happens when the soul is becoming, or the predominant emotion in the lifetime is becoming attached to somebody or something, obsessed, if you will, with somebody or something. Yeah. And then the worst form, addiction, also to substances, or to addiction to sex, or addiction to whatever. It could be anything. And then we have the world of light. And the world of light is where the innocents live and where the spirit lives. So children, advanced beings, and animals going straight to the world of light because they don't have a soul. They don't have an emotional body or thought form that would keep them in the astral world. That is reserved for you humans. for our normal people. So let's look at Earth. When do we have, not time for bracket. So the Earth is the world of experiences and perception. Only through a physical body is experiencing possible, obviously. Pain is a sensation, right? If you would never had a body, how would you describe pain to somebody? It's impossible. So you do need this physical experience to know what pain is, or any other sensation. Also this feeling of petting a dog, or positive feelings, right? Hugging a friend, kissing, sex. You need a body for that. Yeah, that all gives you experiences that you not otherwise wouldn't have. The Earth, with everything is material, the changes are slow, right? Change is very, very slow here on Earth. Think of genetic mutations, how many generations they need to change little things. As opposed to thoughts, they can change very quickly, yeah, and emotions. But changes in the bodies are very, very slow. And that is important because we need this time to fully understand the impact of it. If it would be rushed and we could just create it like this, like this, like this, it wouldn't have the impact and give us a chance to ponder on it and know about it and heal it and get over it. So there's a purpose behind it. Reality is only perception, like what you perceive as your reality. We're not perceiving the same things at the same time, at the same moment. I know that very well. When I was a lawyer and I was working at court, we had to be trained in interviewing witnesses, because you have an accident and you have, let's say, 10 witnesses of the accident. Not one of them is saying the same thing. Not one. They never say the same thing. They say, oh, there was somebody driving with black hair. The next thing, no, that was a blonde. He was blonde who was driving. And then somebody said, and somebody was running away. That was a woman. Somebody was running away. That was an older man. All the time. And everybody can swear, and they will swear. That's what they saw. And that's normal. It's normal. It's just perception is something that is personal. And we are creating a reality out of our perception. Yeah. And so the reality is personal. There is no one reality that fits all. Or as Malcolm Southwood said it once, there is not one universe with many, many individuals. There is like individual souls. There is one soul and many, many, many universes. Because the universe is all created by different perceptions. Yeah, that's it. So each person has this very unique perception, and be aware of that. This is also why we don't want to hear too much what our clients are talking about, because it really doesn't matter most of the time. It's only their perception, but the soul has a completely, on the family soul has a completely different agenda. And we are very grateful, thanks to Bert Hellinger, that we have the means to look at it and see it, and don't get sidetracked, and don't get led, by this perceiving of our client or ourselves, our own perceiving. The goal on Earth is to gain experience to evolve, meaning rising the vibration, going to higher frequencies. Because the frequency is what you come back with, because it's what the soul is vibrating on, not the body. So let's say you are going back to the chart of David Hawkins. You were in a state of grief in one lifetime. That was a predominant emotion. Therefore, you were creating a reality where you lost a lot. You lost people, you lost animals, you lost whatever possessions. Yeah, lots to grieve about. so you really know what grief is all about. And then by the end of the lifetime, you went through it and you understood fully what was happening here. And then you came into this, let's say, into neutrality, into the state of neutrality. Now, with the state of neutrality, that you leave the body, that's where you ponder on in the astral world, not the grief. The grief is over, right? And now you come back in the state of neutrality, and then you're creating this world where everything is fine, nothing biggie, nothing good, nothing bad. Everything is neutral, if you will, yeah? And somehow in the lifetime you think that's not it, that is not all. Something is urging you. There must be more than that. And you will look for it and you will find it. And then you come into a higher state. What would be the higher state? Let me take my cheat sheet. What would be the higher state? We talked about neutrality. Willingness. You would come into willingness to change something. Yeah? To take a big step forward, take a big risk, yeah, something like that. And your family would say, "You're crazy, why are you doing that?" And for you, that is the inevitable thing to do, and you cannot even explain it, right? And then you're in this higher state when you leave the body, then of willingness or acceptance, wherever you end up, and that's then when you go in the astral world, and that's where you ponder upon. Yeah. So this is how we evolve. We cannot change anything when we don't have a body. To see how we change. Okay, so where was it? Where have we been? What did we went through? We've been there. Yeah. Yeah. Now let's talk about the astral plane. The astral world is a world of emotion, and remember, the thoughts are the creator of emotions. So the thoughts and emotions are, as also like C.G. Jung says, as an anima, they are together. Like we always combine them. We are not really tearing them apart. Then the emotion you become, the predominant emotion, the moment you are leaving your body, is what we call the emotion you have become, is what you are drawn to in the astral world. And guess what? There are lots of rounds in the astral world, because there are lots of different emotions, and you are precisely drawn into that one that is matching your frequency, and everybody else as well. That's where they are all. This is why we call it home, because this is where we understood. Now, finally, you might have no one in your whole lifetime on the plane of Earth that you had the feeling that they ever understood you. Now imagine you come to a plane where everybody is the same. Like this is heaven, right? You think that's heaven. That is home. That's like your true family. Of course, it's not your true family. It's just your soul buddies, if you will. Yeah. And there you're together, and then you're reflecting together on the emotion you have become. This astral world is a word of colors as well. And we will work with lots of colors, and we got this a cheat sheet for that as well, because every emotion has a matching color. And that is also what the astral world has, the color of the emotion. And we will work with that when we work with clients. And I show you how. Yeah. So the beings are there, the soul beings are together with similar emotional bodies, and they learn and they heal and they're re-entering. That's called the karmic cycle. Right? They fail a decision. I want to go out of this emotion. I want to go in another. Yeah, but they can't change it there. They are in their world of light. They are in their color. There's no way. There's no transit. No bus going from one to the other. They have to come back to Earth and really work on it. Really work on it. Hard. Several lifetimes. Very often. And so the karmic circle is not a cycle of punishment, as sometimes that is kind of perceived. That's completely wrong. Karma is just action. It's just how your action are changing your frequency that you can evolve spiritually, if you will. That's all. That's the karmic cycle. There is a higher astral world. So the astral world with the higher colors going towards purple and blue, yeah? And that is where you are start to teach. That's the astral world of teachers. So they are there, they are prepared to come to Earth and teach. They teach. They are not the enlightened beings who come only to teach. They are learned teachers. You know how every time you learn, you teach. Every time you teach, you learn something. But there are many, many people who cannot teach anything. And they don't want to, right? So that's a specific phase when you're evolving in the astral world, the higher realms of the astral world, when the predominant emotion is more towards unconditional love, compassion. That's when that's where the desire comes from to teach. What to teach? To teach love in the end. I'm not talking about the school teachers. They don't need to be there. They have very low emotions. I can just remember some of my teachers who definitely had under 200 in the frequency as a predominant emotion. I'm absolutely sure about that. But you know, the teachers who want to teach, about love, with love, and about love. That's it. Then we have the mid-astral world that is working on karma. That's what we talked about before. That's pretty much it, the cycle of karma. And then we have the low astral world, yeah? And that is where all the dark energies or the souls reside that have been predominantly being dark. And dark means selfish. So they were the most selfish people, yeah? If that is the predominant emotion, selfishness, they come to the low astral world. And that is the dark world, of course, because they are all the emotions. There's nothing else. There is no love. There is no compassion. There's nothing to... But if you think about it, Earth is also a beautiful place to be. Why? Heaven on Earth? Because you got all the emotions here. You got the high vibrating emotions and the low vibrating emotions, which is fantastic because the high vibrating emotions are much more stronger than the low vibrating. So let's say one entity that's vibrating on 200 is counterbalancing thousands of one balancing at 20, right? So it's like if you put on a match in a dark room, it illuminates quite a big area, right? Or if it's a torch or a lantern, even probably the whole room, right? So although it's the size of the lantern compared to the size of the room is just, I don't know what, thousands or a 10,000th part of the room, it still illuminates the whole room. And that's the same with the high frequency of emotion. Yeah. So somebody who's kept in its emotion of selfishness is only together with others in the same, right? So it's a really dark place. And this is probably also why it's difficult to get out of there. What happened now? Something just happened. Okay, go back. So we've been through this. The goal is to learn about the choices you made on Earth and to make better choices in the next life. Yeah, that's it. That's why we spend the time in the astral world. And that also goes for the low astral and for the high astral. That's the whole purpose of the astral world. So here we come. Here's the spiritual color. Take a screenshot because we want to work with it later on today. And it's not completely following now the word of the colors of emotions of David Hawkins. Some are quite similar and but not everyone. So have this as a cheat sheet when you want to work with it on your device, whatever, or print it out and hang it up somewhere or have it in your drawer so you can always refer to it. So we're starting at the top. Purple is the high astral world. It's the same in the Hawkins chart. High astral world is teaching love, remember? Mid-astral is blue. In the blue astral world, that could be any kind of emotions between 150 to 400, yeah, roundabout vibration. Then we have and when you have and the blue, on the other hand, has also the meaning of not being totally connected to the body. You can think of indigo blue in this case. And the indigo children who have this problem. Emerald green is the in-between world, the world of the lost or trapped souls, yeah? And when you have this foggy green that I tried to reassemble in this color chart, it is also the low astral world, evil, possessed, drugs, and underworld. That's where you have the dark green. That's different to the green we had in the Hawking chart, right? Where that was more the heart chakra. It's not here. So we need to make sure we work with it correctly. Gray is a color that comes up all the time when you work with a client. It's normally the first color that comes up. Why? Because it's a fear of the unknown. And when you have a milky gray, it's more going to the state of depression. Another color that comes up very often is brown. Brown is a color of control. And then we have orange. It's an interesting color. It's the color of deception. However, it's also the colors of many monks. It's my favorite color. So don't forget, when you work with colors in spiritual healing, it's different to a day-to-day meaning. You cannot look at somebody and they wear an orange shirt and say, oh, he's deceptive. Don't trust them, right? Don't do that mistake. That's not what the chart is for. It's only for when you work with spiritual healing. That's when you need the colors. That's when the colors show in this meaning. Otherwise, they don't show in this meaning. Right? They don't have this meaning. So orange is, in a spiritual context, not to be trusted. Red is desire, power, money, sex, anger, all these very strong emotions that we have often when I work with figurines in the family constellation and the red colors are picked, then I know that's a strong emotion. That's probably where we start with the work, where we go. And often, not always, but often it is anger or violence or something like that. Don't mistake red with love. Nothing to do with love, right? I don't know where this is coming from, this red heart thing. Probably because it's sex, right? And that's kind of where it comes from. In the dark red, if a dark red comes up, it's uncontrolled lust. Yeah, it's an addiction, sex addiction. Then we have violet. Violet is a color of humility, so it won't come up very often when we work with clients, but it does come often up in a darkish color, and that is fanatical belief systems and religion. Yellow, happiness and children, the normal bright yellow. But the darker shade of yellow is fear of the known. Also, that comes often up. So then you know when the client sees that color, then you know, aha, they know and they don't want to admit it. That's different to the gray. Then we have the real green, the heart chakra green, yeah, which is the bright green. That is peace, rest, and healing. And then you can think of the heart chakra if you want to, the turning point between the lower and the higher chakra. And then in a darker shade, it is jealousy and envy. Then we have the true color of love is pink. That's the motherly love. We're not talking about the unconditional love here. It's more the motherly love, which is close to the unconditional love, because as a mother, you love at least your child unconditionally. Yeah. You have this overwhelming feeling Most of us, not everybody, not every mother, but most, it's a natural thing to have. Yeah, this overwhelming feeling of love towards each other, that's unconditional. And then we have the darker shade of pink, which is possessive love. This is, of course, very conditional. Then we have indigo blue. That is that stands for birth and intuition. We have gold. That's spiritual knowledge. Yeah, spiritual knowledge, and it shows a connection to higher dimensions or someone in astral. Sorry, that's the other one. So gold is spiritual knowledge, and a darker shade of gold is karma, and it also shows difficulties to heal, often mentally impairness, right? So, and remember, the thought comes before the emotion. If you have mentally impaired, if you work with somebody who's mentally impaired, right, that is attached to an emotion, right? So it's really difficult to get that apart. Yeah. We have silver. Silver stands for infinity. And sometimes when you work with clients, or you hear that from people saying there is a silver cord connected between in a visualization between two souls, that is kind of the connection to shows a connection to higher dimensions or someone in astral. So that's kind of the connection that shows up. And then we have white. White, the pure white is the truth. And we work with it in spiritual healing, but be aware that the foggy, cloudy white is completely different. And it is often mistaken because the foggy, milky, cloudy white is hiding. When somebody goes into this, it's not that they found truth, it's they're actually hiding. Yeah. So that's really something to be very, very aware of with the white tones. And then we have black, selfishness, not to be trusted, destruction, yeah, and somebody to be avoided, of course. That is then low astral as well. Okay, so you got a screenshot. So we continue. Everyone? Julie, you too?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you explain again how do you use these colors? I think I didn't quite understand it. Yeah, you
exactly?
use it, like, how do you use these?
Yeah, we talk about that. Yeah, we will talk about that. Yeah,
oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had mentioned it already.
No, you haven't missed it yet. No.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
So, right, let's go. Let's have our break now. And we will use the spiritual colors later to go in our exercise. So good that you have a screenshot. Take a break. It is almost 35. So let's say we meet a quarter to the hour again.
Okay. Can you go back to that one more time? I'm going to just take a little picture of it.
Please. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Wonderful. See you in 10.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Let me just try to finish my cuppa. Okay. In the in-between world, what is happening there? It has many names. The in-between world is also called the world of the undead, because the in-betweeners, they don't know that they are dead. Of course they are, but they don't know it, right? So we actually see that in family constellations. Remember when we went through the gestures, when somebody's representative is lying down and the eyes are open, is normally a sign that they are trapped in the in-between world, that they simply don't know that they are dead. So attached spirits or possessive energies and also curses live here. The souls here are in deep sleep, so they are not normally wandering about and doing weird things like you have from horror movies or something like that. No, they are into a deep, deep sleep. The only problem is that they can't go in the astral world and ponder and make decisions. Yeah, where to go next. So the deep soul, it is the souls in deep sleep that are trapped in the in-between world. They have to come back when they wake up to exactly where they ended up. Yeah. And we have a lovely, and we will practice that, a lovely method I learned from Malcolm Southwood to release the souls into the astral world, to wake them up from deep sleep, if you will. And also a method, of course, to make the souls aware that they are dead for those who are confused and think they are not dead. People in nighttime sleep, they often go in the in-between world. Some go in the astral world, but most of us go in the in-between world. It's closer than the astral world to us. Then we have the other issue, and that's what we work with normally, is that in the in-between world, attachments and addictions are keeping souls here, and they, due to the attachment and the addiction, they like to attach themselves to other beings. And that's when we have problems, issues that we can help with when the client comes with that. Spirits or possessive energies is how we call these entities, yeah, want to live on through another body to stay close to wherever they are attached or addicted to. Judy.
Is that where we get like codependency behaviors? Like when people, like, say there's somebody who is an alcoholic and another person attaches to them and they keep repeating the same relationship issues over and over. Okay, interesting. Yeah.
Yes, and look, if they both die, chances are that they stay in the in-between world. The one because they're addicted to a substance, they want to stay close, so they would attach to themselves to somebody who's either drinking or who's owning a bar, or somebody who was weak and was just available at that time, and they make them drink, you know. And the one who was codependent and attached to this would also be trapped in the in-between world because of the attachment to this person. So they would also find a way to stay attached to this person or in the vicinity or around.
No, it's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
They don't rest. There's no way to rest, right? Other than they are in deep sleep. I'm talking about the ones who are spirits or possessive energies. They don't rest. They can't rest. It's very stressful for them, and they also don't understand what's going on because they don't know they are dead. They have no reconciliation where they ended up. Yeah. They just know they want this addiction or this attachment to be working for them in some ways. So there's not malicious intent behind it. Yeah, be aware of that. Again, we are not having this exorcist scenarios here. This is completely Hollywood, really. I mean, I have worked 20 years, I've worked with so many attached spirits. Nobody is malicious. At worst, they are confused and nasty in a way that they won't give up what they had achieved. But that's the worst I've ever seen, right? Okay, we will work with all of this. This is just here, I'm just talking about to prepare you, and you will see how this all comes together later on. The plane of life is where the innocent live. So we are not working with anybody from the plane of life, obviously, right? There is no reason for them to work on anything. That's where the children go when they passed on, advanced beings going there, who are beyond enlightenment, if you will. Animals who have no ego identification with thoughts and emotions, they also go there. And incarnation from here is optional. So you don't have to find a body and go to Earth, but you can if you really want to. As far as I know, and I've learned from Malcolm Southwood, and when thinking about it and feeling into it, there is little reason why you would. So it's very unlikely, because there's no reason for you. There's other purposes, more exciting than doing old again and again, you know. You can re-enter, and you have to re-enter if you decide to come back to Earth without an emotional body. Yeah, because there is no emotional body. You have a soul, but this is advanced, yeah, and it has no emotion left that you need to work on. So these are the completely cool people, these gurus, Buddhas, and so they are completely, you know, nothing can touch them because they don't have the emotional body to attract it. The goal is in the plane of light to create new realms of existence. So remember, creativity is a life purpose not only on Earth. It's the purpose of life itself. It's just to create the unknown, making the unknown visible. What is in the unknown? What is possible? What is possible? And you might know who is creative here, who's doing stuff. Hands up. What are you doing, Kimberly?
I mean, I always create events and media and like I'm just constantly creating. I'm writing a book. I'm, you know, just constantly. I have oils I blend. Just.
How do you feel when you're writing in your book, when you are immersed?
Well, it's just when you were talking earlier about inspiration, it's like in being creative, like that's that in spirit. That's just when you just channel.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I'm out of the way.
Can you describe an emotion in this state?
I don't really, I'm kind of not present. I'm not
exactly. No emotion. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the state of light. That's exactly what it is. That's how it feels like. Time is not there. Time goes by. You have no idea. You have no emotions. Judy.
So in my work, I don't have a creative job, but in my job, I can often be creative.
What?
And I find that there is I know what flow feels like. I understand that feeling and everything, but it's almost like when you get on this kind of, it's like you get on a train and all of a sudden you know it's going in the right place. It's like it totally 100%. You're like, this is good. This is good.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't always get it.
It's a great feeling, and that we love it. We love to be in this state because this is our true purpose. To create. That's all there is. Not a specific thing, not a specific way. Just to come into the state of creation and discovering something new. If you write a book, you're creating something that wasn't there before. If you knit a sweater, you're creating something that wasn't there before. Eva, what do you do? What would you say is creative?
I also do a lot of things, but what I really enjoy doing like interior things. And when I'm making some kind of new design in my room, then I really feel some kind of similar being here, that emotion, the feeling that I'm simply doing and then watching the result. And it's sometimes unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really,
yeah, exactly. And we all love it. We all love it so much, right? Above anything else. Nothing is greater than that. That's why we're at home when we do that. So on every plane of existence, of every level of consciousness, there is creation. Creation is what it is about. So we find circumstances where we can create, and life will always look after us. And that's also in the highest level still. It's never ending. Never ending. And because creation is limitless. There is no end to the unknown that can be made known. Kimberly.
I'm sorry, I had two quick questions about the previous slide with the children going to the realm of light. How old, like what's that age cutoff? Is that like 7 or what's
Good question. Yeah, 7 would be probably latest, because they, whenever they develop an ego sense of self, and they are they are having access to thoughts, and they form a personality out of thoughts and then emotions. Yeah, that's when they probably more prone to become be drawn to the astral world.
That's interesting, because I have a daughter and a son, and I would say that my son probably, I don't know, 5, 6, no ego, my daughter, 3 months.
Ah, here you go.
Like, she was he just came with it, like, he just was very demanding. And so it's interesting. I could see where there'd be a wide variety of ages for that.
Absolutely, you are absolutely right. That's a good point. You can't nail it down to an age. It's an individual thing.
Okay, and then one more question. When we were talking about the advanced beings and returning without emotions, emotionless, it made me think of what's her name, Greta Thunberg. Is that I'm saying it right? The environmental activist, and I know she has autism, which I think that or she's spectrum, and probably affects her emotions, but she seems like an enlightened being that's here, like she chose to be here for a purpose. And I'm just wondering if that.
I do see motives behind that, so I'm not sure about that particular example. But if you think about, Ramana Maharshi, for example, or yeah, I don't know. Not many people come to mind, obviously.
So what about the young girl that was shot by the Taliban because she wanted to be educated? I'm trying to think of her name. Is that who you just said?
Is that who you just said?
No, that would be I'm more talking about these enlightened masters who don't talk.
Okay.
They just be. So they are just it's like the Buddha under the banyan tree. They just radiate. This higher state of consciousness, and then whenever you sit with them, you feel the same. That is kind of this level, that level of,
I don't think we have those in the United States.
I don't think we have those in New Zealand.
At least not in Florida, Judy. At least not in Florida.
Not in Florida. No.
I know it's rare, so yeah. Okay. Now we talk about the healer. That's a quote from Malcolm Southwood, and it's also one of his books, Teach Me How to Love So I Can Heal. And that's the basic of it all. We can learn as many healing modalities as we wish. If we don't know how to unconditionally love, we can't heal anybody. We can play with egos, with our own and with others, but we cannot heal. Healing means ending pain and suffering and allowing the soul to make other choices. Because pain and suffering and trauma is keeping the soul in the conditioned environment. Yeah. So, how to heal with the spirit now? First of all, our chosen method is, of course, family constellations. So we are going with the spirit in family constellations. Yeah. That's all we that's where you apply everything you have learned from module 1 to 3, and that's what you actually do, right? If you go with the spirit and immerse yourself into the morphogenetic field and let yourself be guided by it and the family system of the client. Then we have, of course, the method of spiritual healing. We are not, I just say that, we are not healing a spirit. That's not possible. Spiritual healing is to come from this state of higher consciousness, from a spiritual realm, and bring those who are here and suffering into it, yeah? And then that is where we can heal, just with the presence of being in unconditional love. It won't work, as you can now see, it won't work to go down there, right? It won't work. Because you have to leave unconditional love, healing cannot occur, right? And that is why the highest state of teachers who are just sitting in silence, they are not distracted by what's going on around them, right? They never respond to it or never react to it. It's also like this picture of, and it's also in ancient Egypt, I just remember that there was this practice with the highest priest or priestess, yeah, to achieve the state. And they must come from one of these realms, so very high astral, if not higher, that they can, that they present themselves with wild animals. Because an animal is only reacting to emotion, thoughts and emotions. If an animal is faced with somebody who has no emotions and no thoughts, they wouldn't recognize it. It wouldn't be there. Definitely not a threat or food or something. Yeah. So this is why that was, and also the yogis, the Indian yogis, they when they have achieved enlightenment in this state of consciousness, they were also sitting on a tiger, on the skin of a tiger, just to reassemble their mastery over the animal nature. So spiritual healing is coming from a state of love. It doesn't mean that we don't yell at our dog or get annoyed about a neighbor. You are normal people. We all are normal people, human beings, yeah. But in the moment when you work with a client, you are not angry. Yeah. It's like when you're in your bliss zone. It's when you create. You're zooming out, and that's it. And then you can heal. Of course, it helps to be more often in this state, even if you don't work with clients, just for yourself, for your own well-being, for your own development, right? So train as much as you can to stay clear of thoughts and belief systems. They are all narrowing your perception down, and expectations and emotions, of course. And of course, we do have emotions, but we don't need to become them. They only become us, the emotions, if we are not questioning them. If we are not, first of all, not recognizing them, and then not questioning them, right? And you can actually train that. You can just make a fun game with yourself out of it. Whenever you have you discover a strong emotion, that you be alert of it. You may have a word for it that comes to mind that is snapping you out of this emotion and bring you into a higher state of emotion in one instant. And that's the mastery of emotion. It's not to have emotion, to be aware of them and be able to let them go. So we heal with the spirit, with this compassion for all beings, and that's very important. That you really understand that there is no bad guy anywhere when you work. Let's make an example. You are working in a family constellation with a victim-perpetrator situation. And the perpetrator seems to be really evil. We had that lately. I forgot, in one of the workshops, maybe you were there, where we had a really evil a family member represented was really evil. That came really through. That, as a facilitator, as a helper, as a healer, that doesn't mean that they are all included in unconditional love, of course, in compassion, right? All included. There's nobody excluded, because that's exactly the problem in the family systems, that somebody's excluded. You can't help if you do that. You have to include that. Or the other example is when you're working with the spirit, or an attached spirit, for example, on a client, and I think again of Hollywood and this exorcist, how they beat them and do that. This is rubbish, of course, right? The unconditional love is extending towards this lost soul, of course, right? And it will not react to anything you do until it doesn't felt love from you. Yeah. So all the wording and everything you look at, it's of course, it's all driven by compassion for them, no? For all beings in all worlds, wherever they are. Yeah. Remember, only love can heal, nothing else. There is no force in the world that can heal. So, foundations of spiritual healing. Always see the perfection in yourself and others. That's very important. Yeah. In the moment you work, you heal on yourself, you help healing others, you see the perfection in yourself and in others. You cannot question yourself, and you cannot question the others. You need to know you are at the right place at the right time on your journey, and so is the other. So is everybody else in the room, without any exemption. Yeah. So this perfection is important to perceive, also in yourself. That's probably the hardest part, but that's very important. To heal yourself and others, you need to see this perfection of creation, not the emotional imperfection that is presented in front of you. You look behind that and you see the perfection behind that. And then already everything moves towards healing. Yeah. The monks that are where they're doing their mantras, they are not looking at the cancer and saying, cancer go away, cancer go away, cancer go away. Yeah. The mantra was unconditional love for everyone, every being, and every state of being. That includes the cancer, obviously. The healing takes place when the soul child, that is the conditioned child that's stuck in the emotions and the traumas, gains back self-respect and self-love, meaning let go of guilt and shame, the lowest frequency, the lowest vibration emotions. Now, these emotions of guilt and shame are what we always look when we look at traumas. We try to find that to heal. That needs to heal. Always go where you find guilt and shame, also in the family constellation, of course, right? Because guilt and shame are not obvious emotions. They are hidden. Because nobody can live on a frequency of 20 and 40. They are hidden under grief, anger, desire, something like that. Something more livable, a more livable frequency of emotion. But healing is only taking place when they are able to reveal the underlying emotion of guilt or shame. And that's what you see in family constellations all the time. It starts with anger and then it comes out the guilt and shame. If you stay with it, if you just stay with it, it will come up. You need to take the time away and bring the problem in the now, or the problem, whatever the issue is. Yeah. So you're not talking in past tense, you're talking in present tense. It's happening now. You are talking with representatives of family members that are long passed away. In the 7th generation, they are here. You talk to them now. Now say that, not have you said that, or I don't even know how to phrase it. It's in the now. They say it now. They move now. That's the healing movement. Healing takes place on a higher level than where the problem has been created, obviously, right? Always like this. Never go to the problem. Always bring them up into the place of love. And the problem will just vanish. Illness in the physical body is bound to earth, the lowest frequency, of course, right? So what can you do there with I'm just have a thought. You know how you have like craniosacral therapy, or you have what's the other term? Osteopathy for treatment, yeah, and how you feel better afterwards, like how you come into this, like you can breathe and you can, so it really works. You can manipulate the body to come into emotions, but then if you don't address the emotion, you come 4 weeks later with the same problem again. Have you realized that? It all goes back to where it was. And then you need another treatment because it's never really going away, because the emotion and the thought behind it, or the trauma, whatever it was that caused it, has not been addressed. No. So you think you have a temporary, you might get a temporary relief. That's possible. That's what I wanted to say, but not a permanent one. So the trauma, which is the emotion of fear or guilt, yeah, is of course manifested emotionally and therefore bound to the astral world. And then the healing comes from the state of compassion to all, in the state of unconditional love, comes from the world of light. And this is also why we can heal with light, but only with this understanding. Yeah, we cannot heal with colors, by the way. Don't mix that up. Light is light. Light is white truth. Yeah. Colors are astral emotions. Yeah, we're not healing with colors. We're using the colors to find the issue. That's more how we put it. So what is the problem with empaths, intuitives, and psychics here? What do you think? Is there a problem? Why am I saying that? What do you think? Kimberly's laughing. Why do you laugh? Go.
Only because you're always telling my intuition it's going to be challenging with this work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Say that again. I didn't quite hear what you said.
Maya always tells me that because I have a strong intuition, that it can be challenging with
in
this
family
work.
counseling, yeah.
Okay.
In facilitating, yeah, which is great. So because there are two paths, and that one path can lead there, the other there, right? And when you apply the orders of love, you have all this very precise hints and this precise ways of dealing with it. And if you have an intuition that is kind of going there, then you have to pull hard to stay with this path. And the other thing is also that you might stay on the path that everything is good, right? And then something pops up in your mind and whoop, you look away, and you never know, where this intuition is coming from, right? That's the other thing, right? So this is why I say, it's challenging. Stay on the path. And that's with psychics is very problematic, of course, because what is a psychic is, and I know I had a friend who was psychic, and I know quite a few. Their gift is to connect with the in-between world. That's all they do. That's all they do. That's very little, in the light of everything. And they have a purpose, of course. They can connect with the in-between world, and there are people that want to talk to their trapped souls. I prefer to free the souls, help them to go find their purpose, go healing, not to communicate with them and stay on their low frequency of addiction, attachment, or whatever it is, because it's not healing. But psychics are not doing the work we do, and they cannot do the work we do, right? Just be aware of that. That's not a thing. And empaths are, of course, very difficult because they feel the emotional body of the others. Now, you cannot do anything when you do that. Yeah, you cannot heal. When you feel the pain of somebody else, you are not here, you are here, right? You're not here. When you're facilitating a healing session, a family constellation, for example, and you get a sensation from your client that is, like what the pain they feel, right? That's not empathy. That is information from the morphogenetic field. It's an information. You're staying here. You're not going there, and you're not feeling the pain. You're getting the information. The heart beats faster, or my right leg is itchy, or whatever it is. Yeah, that's an information. Very brief. It's there. Very brief. Done. So you got the information, and now you can work with it. The empaths, they are suffering with the other. They honestly feel the same pain when they have like a deep cut in the left leg. I don't know, just making something up. Then they feel this cut and they can cry. It's so severe, right? That's an empath. So also not possible to heal from this state. Yeah.
And so how do you turn that off? I mean, I have a bit of that. I have quite a bit of that.
Yeah.
The
How do you turn that off?
How do you turn it off? Yeah.
Just go up. Just go up. Just go up. Work on your emotional body, because you will attract these people because there's something in yourself that is attracting this. So just go through it, heal it for yourself, heal it, go up higher states of vibrations, and you will, you won't have that anymore. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, yeah. Kimberly? I think now I really lost you all. That's so bizarre.
It's been at a few of them, but one of them that I was doing, I felt myself, the lady was becoming very emotional about the grief of losing her mom. And I felt myself like feeling that. And I stopped it. Like you have to be so aware. I had to be so aware, and I stopped it and came back. I came out of that back into the constellation. And so I think that's about a part of it too, Judy, is just really being aware of that. Like as soon as it comes on, like, and I was so grateful that I was, but I was like, nope. And I just said no. And I, consciously shifted back into the constellation.
Very good.
So do you just kind of acknowledge, oh, I'm feeling this?
Yes.
Yes.
And
exactly.
So now,
like this is not constellation. This is something else.
Gotcha. That makes sense to me. So you don't like try to push it away. You acknowledge that you're feeling it, and then you just say, okay, I need to put that aside.
Yeah. Switch it. Like, I'm not doing that right now. I'm doing this.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And it worked. It was instant. It was like instant. I got right back into the constellation.
Yeah. And then also always stay on top with your own work, with self-inquiry, self-realization, self-healing. And take this as a moment that you have discovered, there's something that I also can look at and should look at, whenever there's the appropriate time and situation to do that. Very good. Thank you for sharing that, Judy and Kimberly. Okay, so now we come into spiritual healing. When do we use spiritual healing in a family constellation? We talk about emotional healing, emotional illnesses as well. So spiritual healing and family constellation, yeah? We use spiritual healing in a family constellation to release trauma. And we talk about emotional trauma, of course, not physical trauma. Trauma, either one's own childhood trauma or trauma in a family system. It's always either or. It could be your own trauma or the trauma of your family system that you are repeating as a pattern, as an entangler. We use spiritual healing in the family constellation to free souls. That is when you have dead people represented in the family constellation that have their eyes open. Yeah, we go with the method we learned, and we know we have freed the soul from the in-between world when they are happy to close their eyes and feel peaceful. We use spiritual healing in a family constellation to separate attached spirits. Yeah. Sometimes it looks like an entanglement. Sometimes we can it's interchangeable, but most often it is more obvious that it's an attached spirit. And to remove possessive energies. That means releasing attached emotions from somebody. And when we say somebody, the difference is, Judy, for just to work in a one-on-one situation with somebody who has actually this problems, that in a family constellation, we are working with a representative of a family member who has that, right? So we can either the client has it, then we don't need the family system, but more often it is like an ancestor has this and carries this over, right? So that is when we use spiritual healing in a family.
Yeah, it's not, and nobody in my family is like this except me. So it has to be somebody else.
Yeah.
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 Maya, are the attached spirits rare? Because I don't think I've ever witnessed a constellation.
Okay. I give you an example. I must have recorded it. Well, we had quite a few virtual, but one that I remember most vividly was a client came to an in-person workshop, and her son, she had problems with her son. Her son, how old was he? He was in school, probably 5, 6 years old. Her son was in the habit when she woke him up in the morning that he was very rude to her. Very rude. Like he was really dismissive and look, use swear words and was really rude to her. And then after 10 minutes or so, he was his usual self. He was nice. And she really suffered under this behavior. So of course I had an instant, picture of what it was. But then I asked her the typical questions. For example, since when is this change of behavior? And she said 2 years or something, 3 years. So I knew that he was young. He was 2, 3 years old when he must have caught a spirit. Then I asked her where they were 2 or 3 years ago, whenever, right? And then she said they were on holidays, and they were on holidays, and then you asked them, and then she revealed that they were at a mall. They were on holidays at a mall, at a busy mall, and he ditched his head on something. So he had a wound. He had stitches. And then I thought, obviously, that's where he caught the spirit. Because you need to be a weak, the host needs to be in a weak state. Children are always a welcomed host, especially if they are hurt, especially in their head. So, and public places is where they dwell because they're addicted. A shopping mall, right? So they attach to things, to nice things or whatnot. So really, so that's typical bars and restaurants and bordels or wherever alcohol shops or wherever you can be addicted or attached to things. That's where they are, especially in public places, of course. So I knew what it was, but nobody else in the room knew what it was because I didn't know how she would react if I say it. I never say that. I want them. So then I had a representative for the son and a second person for which I knew was a text spirit. Nobody knew. And the son was looking away at the representative, was uncomfortable, didn't feel really well. And the touch spirit, of course, was right next to them, right next to them. He turned around, was always with them. And the touch spirit, he felt good. He was great. He was, there was nothing wrong with it. But the boy representative couldn't actually see the attached spirit. The attached spirit was always behind him, in a way, right? And then I have, and that's what we learn here today. I asked this representative of the touch spirit what they feel, right? The emotion. I needed to know which emotions they are become. What is the predominant emotion? And that was, I don't remember what it was. It was probably anger because he was swearing in the morning. So that's the other thing, a hint for attached spirit. They normally work in the night when, when you leave to the, you leave your body, you go traveling as a soul, as a spirit, and then they normally take over your body more predominantly. And when they wake up, they are still there and then consciousness comes back into the body, and then they kind of go to sleep more. So that's very typical. That's very typical. So this was a very typical example for an attached spirit. So the emotion of anger, so red obviously was the color, right? So then I chose a third representative to represent this color red and the astral world. Because you remember, they are in the in-between where they are trapped. They need to go to somewhere where they belong, and that was the color red, right? So the third representative was represented color red. The participants didn't know all of these, of course. And then, so the third participant was there and was very welcoming and opened the arms and stuff. And then the attached spirit, I asked them to look over there, and they really couldn't. And then, you know, you use these words, acknowledging what is. So I asked them to repeat, I cannot stay here. This is not my home. My home is over there. There's my home, right? So, you know, these words, you use these words in a positive way. So you have to make the spirit aware that they want to leave. They need to click that they are not where they belong. It's like somebody was in the bus and he got out at the wrong station, where it's not their house, but they are confused. They don't see it. They are standing around there looking for their house at this station. So you go there and you tell them, go back in the bus and ride, you know, and ride 2 more stations, and then there's your house. You are the one to tell them that. And that's the way you talk to the spirit, to the representative in a family constellation, in whatever form is appropriate. With our powerful words, of course, you can use them, right? And then, so very slowly, in this constellation, it was very impressive to see how slow this movement was and how long it took for the spirit to really step by step to really understand that they are in the wrong, that they went out the bus in the wrong station here, right? And then very slowly, this representative could turn around and see actually the color, which is his home, and wanted to go there, but it was so painful to go there. I remember them, this representative, crawling on the floor towards it, really, like crawling. It was so hard, and they needed a lot of support, my verbal support facilitated to go there, right? And then when they finally was there, then and united, then you need to make sure that the boy actually sees that. So turns around and sees that, yeah, sees that, and then make sure that they go out of the room. So they go really away together. And then we did that, and then the representative of the boy was left alone, felt a lot better, of course. Not better, like happy, because it's unusual. He was so used to that. So you cannot expect like instant happiness. It was like, yes, it is different. If he's better, sometimes it can be frightening even, yeah, to be in this new state of being alone. However, then I talked to her about it a little bit, and to everybody else what it was and what we did in this family constellation. I'm not quite sure how far she followed the theory behind it. This is also why you don't spend too much time on it, because the healing has taken place. Why would you spend much time? And the fun thing is, and that's another fun thing about this constellation, is I know her, the client. She is an acquaintance of mine, and we have a mutual friend. And she never said anything to me, but a few days later, she met this friend on the street, and to her, she mentioned that her son, since after the constellation, never was rude to her anymore, right? He was a happy boy, waking up happy, and was his usual self. Now, she never said that to me because remember, most clients forget why. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. So then the friend, when I met her, she mentioned that, oh, I have seen her and she talked about the son. And then I knew. Otherwise, I would never have gotten the feedback. But I knew anyway. But it was interesting that it worked, as always, in this way. So this is how you can release an attached spirit in a family constellation. And it's really helpful to have the representatives for that. Because otherwise you work, and I teach you that, we do that today, you work with a one-on-one situation with a client, you can also do that, but it's more this internal constellation, you know, where you where the client internalizes the movements, or spiritual constellation, how we're telling us it. Okay, so now let's go to the emotional healing. It is important to heal emotions, yeah, to raise the frequency. So when your frequency is higher, you can heal better. That's it. That's the whole purpose of it. Yourself and others. There's another addiction. That's an interesting thing. You can be addicted to emotions, right? Not only to substances. You know, people are addicted to grief. They love to grieve. They always create situations around them with lots of loss, or people are addicted to be angry. They just want to be angry. They just don't know who they are when they're not angry, right? So that's also important that we can then heal this addiction to this emotion. Emotional healing is also helping when people are attached to things, people, or groups, because it's the strong emotions that keep them attached to these, even if they're unhealthy, negative, you know, poison people, or how do the toxic people, yeah. Emotional healing is not positive thinking, yeah. You know, we talked about that thoughts come before emotions. So yes, you can heal the thought process before the emotion, and then the emotion is vanishing, right? But positive thinking is not doing that. It's positive thinking is a mental activity to try to trick the mind, the same mind that is doing the activity, into acting differently. It's like, how would that even ever work? Yeah. So even if you can think of something like you hate this neighbor, and then you decide, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I love him. So you go, and mantra is, I don't hate the neighbor, or better, positive. Oh, the neighbor's lovely, the neighbor's lovely, the neighbor's lovely. It's very, very strangeness to do that, because you still hate him, obviously. You just tell yourself, no, it's a nice neighbor, it's nice neighbor, nice neighbor, until something happens that you cannot justify as nice anymore, because you're still attracting the underlying emotion, right, and creating your reality. So it's really, really stressful, positive thinking, and in the end does nothing. But positive thoughts are good. Positive thoughts are meaning that there are no negative thoughts. So that is a true healing, is that you really have accepted that you have this neighbor. It's just in this example. So first of all, you accept what is the common grounds here. What do you both love? Well, you love the same area because that's where you live. So there's something that you both love. So that's what you find, right? That's a positive thought, yeah? And then you might, oh, and he has a dog too. You don't like the dog, but he likes dogs too. You have a dog, he has a dog. So you both like dogs. It's just in a different way how you love them. So there's something more. So you find positive thoughts in relationship to your neighbor more and more. And then your anger is less and less and less. That's just the effect. That's not positive thinking. And that's healing emotions, of course. Overcoming thought pattern and emotions is paramount for spiritual growth. That's now, after everything we talked about, it's kind of a given. Yeah, that's very, very, very important. Let's talk about illnesses. And that's very brief, because that's not the topic of our course. But you can read about it in the books of Malcolm Southwood. I think it is one of these books that is available on Audible, or Amazon, on Kindle. I think it's the one that is called your mobile home. Your body is your mobile home or something like that. So phobias is an irrational fear about something that should not cause fear, right? The phobia, some have a phobia of hats, or some have a phobia of ladders, or some have a phobia then of spiders. They are totally harmless, or a phobia of anything. You can have anything turned into phobia, right? Then that's the underlying, that's an emotional illness. That is not a physical thing. There is an emotion underlying that is coming out in this lifetime as this phobia. Alzheimer's condition is the same. Also an underlying emotion. And with the work that we do, we find this emotion. So we can help. Yeah, we can help if they want it. If they want it. This is the question is, do these clients come to us, right? They normally go to doctor. Chronic fatigue syndrome is also an emotional. And don't ask me which is the underlying emotion, because that's all in the book there. And I'm sure there can be different emotions as well. Multiple sclerosis is an emotional illness. Kidney disorders also. Often you find the emotion, you find the reason for the disease. Parkinson's disease. Yeah, Parkinson's disease is guilt. I know that for sure. Yeah, it's guilt. The underlying emotion is guilt. Rheumatoid arthritis even has an underlying emotion that is causing it. And infertility, we have that often in family constellation. We can work with the wish to conceive a child very successfully in family constellation, because there's an underlying emotion as well that is making this impossible. Okay, now back to our spirits. Attached spirits are entities from the in-between world, or possessive energies, yeah, that need a weak host. I just told you that in this example with the boy. They need a weak host and close contact, both. So they cannot just jump on somebody at the other end of the world. It needs to be this mole situation where the spirit is right there, where the boy crashes. Yeah, they cannot wander. They are there. Well, they are where they are. They need the host to come to them. Yeah, they cannot move. They don't have a body to do that. So they need this close contact or a strong attachment to attach to. So either it's a kind of a physical contact, or this attachment is drawing them in. Yeah, because they have the same in the host. It's like a magnet, if you will. Yeah. Healing attached spirits is loving, compassionate towards all beings, including the spirit, obviously. That's, yeah, if you think that's an evil guy, they won't go. Don't send them into the light. That's a trap to fall into. The light is truth. They are not ready for that. The light is where the innocent go. They are not ready for the world of light. They have missed the bus to their color, to their astral world. That's what they miss. So you need to find the color. If you would send them, so I have seen that over and over again, that people send spirits into the light. They don't send them into the light. They send them into hiding. Remember the white, the foggy white? That's not the light. That's hiding. They cannot go in the light. It's impossible. So work through the color chart. Find the emotion, the color that the spirit became, that the spirit is, and then send him there. Help them to go there. And the releasing process is similar to regressions, which we go in part 3 through. So we see how much time we have today, if we do that today, or if we do that in 2 days. We do now an exercise where we do the how can I say, the little sister of healing, detaching a spirit is healing an emotion, right? So that means, and this exercise goes, and you do that in a group. This exercise is like I demonstrate it basically how it looks like, and then you practice that with each other, yeah, in the breakout room. You have, well, we do a group of 3 because now we have 3, I would say, or shall we? What else can we do? Yeah, well, I put you in one group, and then you do that all 3 together, yeah. You find the emotion to work with. It can be a meditation. You can shortcut it. You can ask. Yeah, that's often the shortest way. You ask, "What color do you see?" Yeah, and then you release it into the corresponding color. That always helps to have a shape. So the corresponding color, like the example I talked to you about, was a representative for the color, a person, right? If you don't have a representative for the color, although you have when you're 3 in the group, you choose a shape. It could be a door in the color. It could be a cloud in the color. It could be anything, yeah, whatever. And sometimes also the client knows what shape it is. You can ask them, right? So you need the color, the right color, and you need the shape or a representative that is representing this color. And then you can send the emotion there. And it's a process that's very easy. And don't forget at the end to fill in the hole that is left, yeah, in this emotional body when the emotion has left with true light. Yeah. And the light is not coming from somewhere, it is the own light of the client. Yeah. It comes from within. So don't allow this light that comes, because you don't know where it comes from. Not all light is benevolent, right? So you don't want that. You want the pure light, the own light from your client to fill in this gap, from their own spirit, if you will. Okay, so let me stop sharing. And now we have a demonstration. So who of you would like to work with an emotion? Anything comes to mind? Have you lately been sad or angry or anything, really? Kimberly?
I've been sort of agitated, I think.
Okay, very good. Right. And what circumstance was that?
It's not just like one circumstance. I just see it coming up. I feel kind of, maybe I'm actually overwhelmed. Maybe I feel overwhelmed. Like I just can't do it all. Can't get to everything that I want to get to.
All right. All right. So close your eyes. And think of the last situation where you felt overwhelmed. Bring that up. Make it vivid. Are you there? Very good. Keep your eyes closed. What color do you see?
I see 2. I see like a pink and then like a maroon.
A pink and?
A maroon?
What is maroon?
It's like maybe
brown?
Brownish red.
Brownish red. Okay.
Yep, it's dark color.
Like a burgundy, maybe like a burgundy.
A burgundy. Okay. I don't think I've hang on, I just bring up my chart and what is closest to burgundy. Let me just keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed. But it's not the dark red. That would be uncontrolled lust.
Oh. Doesn't feel like that.
Is it more towards brown or is it more towards the pink, this burgundy?
It's changing now to green.
Ah, okay. What kind of green?
Like a lime green.
Okay. A lime green. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what was the first color?
Pink.
Pink. So when we have the pink, that is of course mother's love, right? And this feeling of being overwhelmed can be in your role as a mother. Is this happening in your role as a mother?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Right? But we don't want to read. Yeah, we could read. Why not? We release it. It's probably easier than work with this other color, which I'm not quite sure what it is. So I would like you to picture this pink color in a shape. What comes to mind? What shape do you see?
A heart.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. So look at a big, big heart, a big heart that is in this beautiful pink. Yeah, can you see that? It's huge. Right? Very good. Very good. And now you release this emotion of overwhelmed from your body and send it into this heart. It helps with an exhale often. Let go with an exhale. You have the situation, you feel the emotion, and you see the pink heart. And now you send it right there, right into the center of the pink heart. And let us know when it's there.
It's
Yeah?
there.
There. Okay. Now you see how this is melting with this pink heart. So it's one, comes one. So there's no distinguishing between this emotion and the pink heart. Or it can also go through the heart to the other side. And let me know when it's there. Completely vanished.
Yeah, it feels like I don't see it. Like
Very
the
good.
heart.
Now you see how the heart is kind of drifting up into the clouds, and you follow the heart until it completely dissolves in the distance, goes down under the horizon. Nothing is left. Good, very good. And now you see how from the center of your heart, a beautiful light immerses. Bright, white, warm. And you let the light fill in the areas where this emotion have resided before. Yeah, very good. Then you take a deep inhale and an open mouth exhale. Very good. And then you can open your eyes. Very good. Okay, that's how you do it. You do that with each other, and since you're three in your group, the third person can actually represent the color. So we don't need a shape. We don't need to visualize that. You can actually ask your client. Let's say Kimberly is working with Judy, then Eva would be the color, the representative of the color, then Kimberly, you would ask Judy to go to Eva. Yeah? And make sure that she is able to reach and be there, and then they both turn around and go. Yeah. But that would probably don't do that. I'm just have a second thought, because we will only want the emotion to go to Eva. So don't do that. Just keep Judy where she is and let her see the emotion, which we can't represent. That's okay. Visualize the emotion to go to Eva. Yeah. So Judy stays.
If you want to do it, we could all represent for Judy.
Okay, we just do it here. Yeah, of course. Why not? Let's do it. Yeah. So who wants to facilitate? Oh, what happened now? Yeah. Who wants to facilitate in this little exercise?
I will.
Kimberly, go Kimberly.
I'll go ahead. Do it.
Go Kimberly.
Okay. So Judy, we'll begin with you. If you don't mind closing your eyes for a moment and connecting to whatever this emotion is that we would like to constellate here today. Looking back to your day, your week, what has come up for you that might be something you're ready to release and transform.
Okay.
What's coming to mind?
So is it okay if I pull from yesterday? Emotion yesterday, or okay, yes. So very extreme irritation.
Extreme irritation. Was this a new thing or something that's been ongoing?
It was new. Yeah.
And it was
situational. Yes.
Okay. And so we can ask Leva if she would represent the color of
which color?
So I give her the color. She doesn't go.
No, Judy needs to know the color.
Okay. Okay. So I close my eyes to see the color, right?
Yes.
The color is a dark blue.
Dark blue. Okay.
And you look in your cheat sheet, and what do you think? What is it?
Dark blue is, it looks like it's intuition.
Or?
Fanatical belief system?
That would be more purple. I would probably go with birth here. I think we're having a birth trauma here. A trigger for a birth trauma. Now, if we would have more time, you would have asked, if it would be a client that you spent an hour with, you would ask, how was your birth? And what was the situation that irritated you, by the way? What was it, Judy?
It's so involved. But it has to do with a friend basically accusing another friend of something and trying to ruin his reputation. Quite very much irritated me because I completely disagreed with the situation and was helpless to do anything about it.
So that was somehow a trigger for birth, for Judy's birth. Now you would ask Judy, of course, if we would have time, how was her birth? What does she know about her birth?
Yeah. So do you know, did your mom, did you have a traumatic birth experience?
Yes, I did. I was pulled out with forceps.
Yeah. So now, that's how, that's how it works. It's fantastic. Now the trigger was she completely disagreed with whatever was going on there, right? The same in her birth. She didn't want to come out. She completely disagreed with being born at this time, at this point in time, and was forced to do that. And I bet your skin was irritated.
Yesterday or during the birth?
At the birth, maybe yesterday as well, but definitely at the birth.
Yeah, I had very long scars on my face from where the forceps had pulled me out.
Go. So the story is already told if you just listen carefully. Yeah.
That's
when
amazing.
It's not intuition, it's all learning, it's all what you learn. And if you have the right color, if you nail the color, then you know exactly the path you need to take and the questions you need to ask. So we have a birth trauma here, and of course we could now do a rebirthing. That would be probably the best way to deal with this. But we will now, for the sake of the exercise, we release this emotion, yeah, into the color. Kimberly.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what to do here. Like just walk her through putting it into the. So are we still going to use Leva?
So Eva is now the color dark blue, indigo blue.
Okay. And so we'll ask you to represent.
So just ask Judy to release this emotion towards Eva and ask Eva to receive it. The emotion of irritability, irritation.
So Eva, I'm releasing this emotion to you.
And I'm taking that with myself.
And then, Kimberly, you just need to make sure that you know when it has been accomplished.
Yes, Leva, what are you feeling?
I have had that sense of relief. Like after a couple of minutes of seconds, I'm just feeling that I have some kind of relief that I can go away. It's like not my place in here.
So you don't feel like you belong. You feel like you belong somewhere else.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And so, Judy, how do you feel with Leva?
Well, I'll ask Judy now to watch Eva going.
Can you see her as she moves away from you?
Yes.
And Leva, can you move? Continue moving away from Judy, step by step by step. As you continue to fade.
Very good.
And the color begins to blur, transforming from the blue to a soft white, slowly to a warm.
Be careful with the white hiding.
To a warm, embracing light.
Just let it fade away. Let the light come from the client's heart. Safer.
So as Leva has faded away.
Yeah, maybe Eva wants to go out of this screen for a moment. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Here you go. Nice.
There we go.
Very good.
And so now, Judy, you can see it's truly gone, truly faded away. That is no longer an emotion that you have to carry. You are free and safe to release it and to make your choices and to choose for yourself.
And now you fill in the hole with light.
And so when you close your eyes
You can come back, Eva.
and you see
Thank
that
you.
space within you that was once a void, we now fill it with pure, warm, loving, celestial light. Feel it begin to penetrate into you and wash over your entire being as you integrate this light and it becomes one with you. And take a deep breath in and open your mouth and let it go. Exhaling. And another deep breath in. And with this breath, we seal this light inside of you. And you are now whole and complete.
Okay.
You can open your eyes when you're ready.
Very good. Very good. Very good. So see, this exercise was there to show you how important it is to have this color chart. And if the client doesn't see a color, then if you have a representative, they might see the color. Or you might see the color, right? So there's always, normally you always get it nailed it down to the color. Good. So that was today. Take a good rest. I see you back in 23 hours. Oh, by the way, just saying, I struggle maybe to be on time tomorrow because I'm coming from somewhere and I might be late. Shall we just say we start later instead you waiting for me? Is that okay?
What time are we going to start?
Probably half an hour later to be safe.
Will we be running half an hour late too then?
Yeah. Is that too late?
It's okay.
Is that
It's
okay?
tough. It's tough.
Is it late? What time do you have?
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's 10 after 10.
Ah, yeah. So that would be then we would be finished at 10:30 tomorrow. Yeah. Let's say half an hour later, and then I'll be here. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.